My Van and Melanie, and well met indeed. I'm Attica Galadrathan, and welcome back to Age of Empires 2 as I bring you another episode of this. Now, a few things to go over. First of all, before we talk about anything, number one, apologies, this video is a day late. There were some technical difficulties with recording a video on Wednesday, so I had to do it the day after, so there's been this gap. I apologise for that. It would just take one of the days from the weekend and move it in. The other thing is I am going to play Humankind, but I'm waiting on some discussion with Amplitude Studios. So that's going to be hopefully next week instead. But if you're interested in Humankind, I'm going to play that on the channel, because why not? So I thought, with Age of Empires then taking this week's spot, let's do something different. And boy, are we doing something different. Because I was invited along by Earendel, Mats, and Chris to play a ranked Age of Empires with them. So this is not a diplomacy game, and this is also not just a random game. It is a ranked game. So Age of Empires tries to put you against people of a similar tier level to you, and in this case, it's interesting how it does it because of the gulf in skill between the four of us, sorry. But anyway, let's run through. So this time I'm orange. I'm Gallo. I'm playing as the Italians. I love the Italians. I love Italy. And I play as them in everything. This included. So I'm the Italians. I'm out here on the edge, on the flank, as they call it, and right next to the enemy. This is Hideout. This was randomly chosen by the game. This was not selected by us. I have this wonderfully useless wall over here at the moment. Curling round, Earendel is next to me in purple. He's playing as the Lithuanians, the heavy cavalry civ that require relics like they are going out of fashion. Next along, we have Chris playing as the Saracens, giving any archers here that sweet, sweet archer bonus. And Matt's lastly playing as the Britons, an archer civ. I am also an archer civ. Obviously, Matt's in red. So that's our team. The enemy team, we obviously know nothing about them, but we have Sherpa Rick, who's playing as the Bulgarians. And curling around into the green, we have Gaming Kitty playing as the Hindustanis, who are still a very, very powerful civ. And then over on the far side, we have Planet Golf 0805 playing as the Celts. And then lastly, Wilson the Hamster playing as the Byzantines in grey. Now, I did consider using Capture Age to capture this because it is it's a casted game, as it were. Obviously not of professionals, but still a casted game nevertheless. But I'm sorry, I just really don't like Capture Age. I know it gives you the information along the top about which villagers are idle and how many military units everyone has and what type of military units everyone has. And of course the minimap has a little bit more detail in telling you where castles and town centres are. But beyond that, I think visually I don't like how it looks. And I know it's such a minor point, but the music plays in the normal mode. And I just prefer that. And also, generally speaking, we're here for just what happens amongst the teams rather than anything like that. Right, so starting off, the first action then is I go out here to try and start building a wall. My plan is to just wall off the corner. And Sherpa Rick puts a stop to that and takes out a villager of mine. Bring the scout back to chase off the scout and then select another willing villager to head to the front line and build a wall. Of course, we are very, very close, as is always the way in Hideout. Most people just going very efficiently with their usual builds. Some of us less efficiently, more efficiently as you run along the lines. Matt's scouting out Wilson's base over there. I shall refer to him as Wilson throughout. Well, do note that Planet Golf, from my limited knowledge, would suggest that Planet Golf is playing on an Xbox and not a computer. But, no. It just means that we all have the game on Steam, and he has the game exclusively from Microsoft, not from Steam. Ignore that. I don't think you can play it on an Xbox. My second villager is then met. I've now got Loom, though, so he's putting up a bit more of a fight, but Gaming Kitty brings down his scout to assist. My scout comes back once again, because I foolishly run away again. And my villager puts up a little bit of a fight with those scouts, but alas, it is not enough. We do take down Sherpa's scout. And then we force Gaming Kitties away. We'll just call him Kitty. And then we send another willing villager to the front line. As everyone just rattles through the ages. He's dropping down a barracks very, very early doors. And is already sending militia out. So there's militia on the way from blue. My wall is nowhere near completed. Terrible, terrible shame. As the militia arrive. This, what I'm doing right here, is a bad idea. Wilson hits the feudal age. Very little going on in his base, but he's already there. As the militia then crush through. My villager tries to keep building the wall, and we realise it's futile. So we just assist in trying to bring down the militia. Earendel sends his scout over to help, but it is unfortunately a lost cause. 3 militia. Not enjoyable. Sherpa Rick hits the feudal age as well and brings down villagers to the front line and immediately hits men-at-arms. So he is men-at-arms rushing me. Back in my base following just a simple build order I've had written in a book for a long time. That involves knights, but not actually using it. Oh, he's got loads more farms. And Matt's no farms at all as yet, going all in on the berries and getting deer and the like. But Blue is then pressing in on my base. His men-at-arms arrive and take down Earendil's scout. Oh no, he gets away in time, and they start tower rushing me. I put down a barracks. Every little helps. So we're being pressed. Using the few things that I've learnt in the past, we rush a villager to the front line and start building a house and try and just block that gate, and we succeed. Houses are far more durable than palisade walls, which is laughable, really, but they have about twice as much health as a palisade wall. The tower goes up, but the villager tries her best. She's dancing, she's flirting with it, and she manages to get that house built and pushes in on the second, but we can't get that house constructed. More villagers come over to get the berries. It's only going to be a matter of time. Right, we're moving on to gold as well. Elsewhere, nothing really happening. Wilson building some houses on the front line. I'm not really sure what Wilson's plan is there, but he's got some houses in. Right, they're in. They've broken down that house because I wasn't able to get it built because the tower pushed my villagers. I should have rushed with more villagers. And we pull the villagers back. We realise that we don't necessarily need to pull the villagers back, and we immediately make backup plans. Yes, one of the men-at-arms goes down and gets too cocky. Closes in on the town centre, he does. Death becomes him. But using the gold as a wall and using the wall as a wall, we build a wall. My villagers protecting ourselves with everything we've got. Dropping an archery range on our back line. And then continuing with the wall. We've got stone pile there, so we've got that all right. We drop our own tower to protect our front line. Wilson is now using the houses, to just wall up his little corner. He's using a scout to double check there's nothing going on. But otherwise, this is the only action. Everyone else just slowly going up to the castle age. Well, not that slowly, probably quite rapidly. My own tower denies them access to this forward tower, and so we're able to shut that down, which is quite nice. And they delete the tower in anticipation. Right, so we're rather up against it now. We've got two towers in our... Well, one in our base, one on the edge. Earendil hits the castle age, my lifeblood, my saviour, my guardian angel. They move a tower to the front line here to try and deny the wood and the gold. But that's all right, that's all right. We'll deal with that, we'll deal with that. The villagers charge with sword and shield for peasants alike. They're on their way and they're going to fight back. Obviously, towers in this early stage without ballistics are woefully bad at hitting moving units, so the villagers don't really suffer from the tower. But look how cool the tower looks. Oh, that's a nice looking tower, isn't it? Very nice looking tower. Matt's now probing onto Wilson as well. His archers are out. Wilson's not able to get a stone wall up and diverts with an odd gate there. Always interesting to see. We continue our fight. Kitty bringing 3 scout cav over, and the villagers, it's now action. It's time for action. Drop the wall, villagers. Drop the wall. Now, this villager almost costs us because that final wall section isn't. We can't get it up. The scouts get in. But then bizarrely they then double back to push, but we don't capitalize on it, and there's a gap in the line. But the villagers are now in the town centre as the scouts then run through. But now they're under the fire of the town centre. Matt's on the other... And, oh, they've been cut off. Wilson shuts his push down. But this is why you want Saracens in your team when you're playing as an archer nation. If we just very briefly have a look at the Saracens... Oh, the much easier way to do this, actually. And it would be good for learning purposes. If we swap to see what Chris can see and hover over this, you'll see the team bonuses for archers +2 attack versus buildings. How's there, Chris? Bad time to show you. Sorry. We manage to block in the wall, as I say. The scouts do run to the back of the base, but then they don't really do anything. They start attacking a blacksmith that's just complete waste. I mean, I'm not particularly good, but even I know that's a stupid thing to do. Just kill the villagers, you idiot. But he doesn't, and so those 2 villagers make it out alive. And then the 4 at the back start making their way to the town centre as well. We've now walled in that southern section as well. We finish off on the deer. We do lose 2 villagers, but Knights of Lithuania come through. Sentimentai, and they push the scout cavalry, and the scout cavalry runs the gambit under the town centre. You can see they are tanking those arrows quite successfully with their 2 pierce armour. But we've pushed them out. They're out of the base. The villagers can go back to work. Mats pushes right past Wilson. Wilson has walled in his own base, as you can see, with the Byzantine walls, which have more health, and as with everything in the Byzantines, they're just tankier buildings. And he goes for Planet Golf 0805. I presume Planet Golf 0804 was unavailable for today's game, so 0805 has had to step in. Planet Golf, though, doesn't seem to know what to do. The crossbows, we've seen this before in the tournament games. British crossbows outrange town centres in the Castle Age, and he's making full use of that. Planet Golf does bring back a Mangonel, though. Does he get a good hit on Mats? Oh, he takes down 3, well, damages the others. Mats splits, but it's to no avail. But then Chris's Saracen scout comes over, and together the Mangonel falls. And Mats can continue his push unabated. Back in my own base, things have settled. We've built a palisade gate, and we're now just finishing off the wall. We're mining the gold where we can. We've moved the woodcutters back, and we're mining some stone over there, but it's food. We actually have quite a lot of food at the moment. If I just swap to me. No, we don't. Ignore everything I just said. I thought I had more food. Mats continues his push on Planet Golf, ignoring again Wilson, who's walled himself in and is now allowing Planet Golf to die. He's just letting him drop off. I would say don't look at the scores too much. Just turn those off. Oh, yeah, that's been turned off. I don't know how I did that. Sorry, that should have been on from the beginning. Anyway, because that does at least show you who's going up to what ages and things like that. Anywho, I am thoroughly bottom in score, but I have one objective. The guy said to me, Gallo, just stay alive. Just try and hold. And that's what I did. Planet Golf immediately resigns. He doesn't even try and fight back. Absolutely outrageous. So Mats has taken one of their players down already. But I am right under the cosh, of course. As we've just seen, I have almost no food. Dropping a market to try and make things a little easier. And we're finally going into farms. But Kitty is now in the Castle Age. Me and Sherpa are the only two in feudal. Just as Sherpa hits Castle Age. I am now the only non-Castle Age civilization. And it's going to hurt me. It's going to hurt me big, I can tell you. Right, Mats and Chris now moving up to clear their way into Wilson the Hamster's base and getting through the Byzantine fortifications. With Chris's camels and Mats's crossbows, there's nothing they can't do. And the Byzantine player has walled himself into a lovely little prison, and he doesn't have the support of his neighbours because his neighbour is dead. Kitty, in the meanwhile, has walled himself in with extra houses and built a fair amount of stables and lots of farms there. As Airender went on a bit of a push to try and damage Sherpa. I mean, he forced Sherpa to build a crepost in his own base, which he probably didn't want to do, but has done anyway. No pressure on me at the moment, though. So they give me a brief window to just try and recoup. We get some more farms down. We move back. We realise how stupid we were with this space over here. For a long time in this game, I assumed this was my western border, and this would not have been connected to these trees. So I would have been able to walk around here, and it would have come onto the back. And then I very swiftly realised, of course, that this was just a clearing, and I felt like such an idiot. I mean, I didn't do anything wrong. I didn't waste anything on it, but it was silly. Right, Mats' crossbows have come down to assist as well. Arendo's sending his knights over. They're just trying to protect me so that I can get up. Let's use the advantage that we have. It's 4 versus 3. I am in the feudal, and one of them is about to hit Imperial, as we can't break through their gate. Although one of our units is on the other side. Oh, it's a scout. So, Camel's doing very, very little damage. It's going to take a long time to get through that defensive line. But Mats has already got his archers in the back line, of course, and he's going to go and probe. But then the Hindustanis arrive. Kitty and a number of camels and scouts come forward. We upgrade the palisade to a stone wall. We realise maybe now's the time to actually defend ourselves. And it's going to take place here. The battle for Middle-earth shall be decided on the plains of the Pelennor before Mount Mindalluin and the great city of Minas Tirith. Or in this case, pick an Italian city, call it what you want. Palermo. Turin. Right. Eärendil quite swiftly realising that, of course, his knights versus those camels is a very poor matchup. Knights, actually, generally speaking, if you aren't really sure, halberdiers are a considerably better anti-cavalry unit than camels. But the thing that camels do that people like them for is that they trade well with knights. So a halberdier is just better against a knight, to be honest. It's cheaper and it does more damage. But a camel will kill a knight and costs less. So that's why they're still effective. But halberdiers actually just are better. But realizing that the barracks, was going to go down, we get a wall in behind. Quick thinking. It's now the age of the fast walling. Can we fast wall quickly enough? They move through and they start hitting the houses. Mats, at this point, pushes into Kitty's own base and starts taking down some of his villagers. He still outranges the town centre, but now he won't be able to attack the town centre. They start to bring down my front houses, and we again get a wall up in time. We put another wall over here as well, because I know that the archery range doesn't go to the tree line, and we are secure again. But now we've got the edges of the archery range, and they move through to start attacking that as well, and the villagers are called back to action. Villagers! Villagers, get back on the wall! They start building a crepost right on the front line, and we use the tower that we still have to try and deny them. Cockadoodle once! I shall not deny him. But we do deny him. And we build a wall around the archery range, and we secure that western side. The Bulgars arrive with their conics, and they start just trying to bring down the gate. And then but Earendel and Chris arrive at this moment. The camels move forward. We're denying the crepost. I finally arrive in the castle age. We've already been mining stone. We're laying the groundwork. The camels fighting back against the conics, but not doing very well at all. Dear, oh dear. The conics fighting back rather well. This is what I mean by their trading. Obviously, a conic isn't a knight, but it's a very similar class. They trade more cost efficiently. They aren't like outright outrageous against cavalry, which I've always found a bit disappointing. When you see a halberdier attack a cavalry unit, you'll know what glory and strength looks like. But we succeed in denying the crepost just as more camels arrive. Mats's back crossbow line has been defeated now, and he's planning to push on Wilson. If we can just hold on this eastern edge, then Mats can push through on Wilson and claim that glory. Wilson has gone all in on the monks. It's monks versus archers. Place your bets. 3 monsters. It's an interesting play. It's a bold move, Cotton. Let's see if it pays off. Right, the Bulgars start hitting the gate. Again, they're just trying to break through. If they can break through, think of the carnage and the turmoil that will proceed. But we then move everyone. Everyone is called to action. Build the castle. Build the castle. Italy will not fall. Forza Azzurri. Let's push. The gate is on its way down, 750 health, but we've got so many villagers on the castle, that is going up. We drop a university to protect the town centre, and because I love murder holes. Murder holes is just imperative. The castle starts picking off camels who are not very good against castles. Camels fall like butter to castles. Sadly, gone are the days that camels had the ship armor trait, which meant they fell really quickly to anything that fired arrows at them. Well, castles and towers, not actual archers. But they are still very weak to castles even now. This horde of camels with this one castle isn't really a threat, depending on what he does with it. But he clears out a few of the villagers who finally mined their way through our wall as the Trebs of Wilson and the monks come forward. Mats has got a number of crossbows. We've got Sherpa going to the Imperial Age now. Matt's going to the Imperial Age as well. And Wilson obviously already there. And we can ignore Planet Golf because he's dead. So we'll take him out. Earendil sends over some pikemen to assist, and together with the castle and the pikes, we are protected. We get a town centre in the back line. We've got a town centre up there. We are clawing our way back in. They do manage to finally build the Krepos, but now it doesn't matter. We managed to get most of the villagers to safety. But now the fighting shifts. Chris's camels holding back the conics, but remember when conics die, they stand up as infantry who don't worry about camels. They knock camels aside as though carving their way through a field of butterflies. There are a lot of kitty camels as well. And Sherpa has moved his production to the front line. The monk push comes as Mats's front military line goes down, but the crossbowmen now move forward to meet it. As the monks move in. It's Byzantine monks versus British crossbows. It's a very, very unique play. 1 crossbow does get converted. 2 crossbows get converted. But look at the monks fall. 3 crossbows. And then all of the monks have used all of their ability. And Mats is dividing them so that half fires against half and half fires against another. That is a huge waste of gold. Still doesn't have ballistics, though. Interestingly. Wilson's dropping a castle in that front line. The monks were a diversion. The monks were a diversion. Get some siege in there. Right, so things in my base, as I say, really calm down now. Basically, they ignore me, and I just can start to reboom. So we're going to be focusing elsewhere, primarily now on Earendel. They basically take the view, I mean, we don't talk to them, and they didn't talk to us, but they, in essence, take the view that I am dead and out, and there's no point having me in. There's no point focusing on me anymore, because I'm trapped in a corner, I'm not going to do anything, and there's a Crepos guarding me. So they start moving through to attack Earendel. But Mats is pushing back. Oh, another reason why I figured, why I thought we shouldn't use Capture Age, and it's really minor, and many of you would actually probably say we should, is that Capture Age does show you what anything that they said to each other in chat down the side. Whereas we were on Discord, so we never sent a single in-game message. It was all vocal. But they sent in-game messages, but I didn't want to run the risk of seeing what they might have been writing to each other. But anyway, cast your votes again. If you are watching this time we'll do a full, actual, categoric vote. If you're watching this and you've made it this far, let me know if you'd rather these were done on Capture Age or this mode. If you see someone say Capture Age already, like their comment, and then I can tally that up as well. And we'll add it up, and we'll see if the ayes or the nays have it. Anyway, the monks, of course, they protect long enough for the castle to get up. So Wilson is now holding Mats. Mats, our greatest player here today, without a doubt. He's the highest scored at the moment. He has the highest actual ELO, in essence, the ranking system. Oh, my villagers are escaping. My villagers are escaping, and this villager being left behind is gladly building himself back in. But we got some villagers out. We will not be trapped in the corner. We're protected by our brave brothers and sisters from the Saracen and Lithuanian empires. But anyway, Mats is the best player in this game today. And Wilson is building him a challenge. He's building him an assault course. And to be honest, given that the British are so easily countered by a few rams and some skirmishers, it's going to be interesting to see how he fares against a Byzantine player who are famed for their easily available trash units. But down in the south, the battle lines are being drawn. We've got Bulgarian two-handed swordmen with their insane militia boost. Oh, no, they haven't got it yet. And it's armor anyway. They haven't got it yet. But the Bulgarians get +5 militia armor. +5 melee armor, sorry, to their militia line, which is the two-handed sword. So when he upgrades it, eventually they'll have considerably more armor than they currently have. Now, the 12+2 attack's just their attack, so ignore that. Earendel dropping another castle, but the rams, they're coming, the camels, they're coming, and the two-handed sword are moving up in defense behind. The pikes are the first to hit the line. It's camel on camel, but unfortunately, as you may well know, the Saracens do get the most HP of any camel. But the Hindustanis... Well, at the moment, actually, Chris's camels probably have it. Hindustani camels, 6+2, +2+2. Chris has not got all of the tech, so he's behind on attack and armor, but he's got 30 more HP, so it's interesting to see how they meet up. And the answer to that question is that Hindustanis won it. Although it's mostly because of the two-handed swordman. Two-handed swords laugh in the face of camels. My villagers made it down here to get gold. That's what I was running out of, so we went and got some gold. Yeah. But otherwise the fighting all takes place here. Now the Lightis does fantastically against two-handed swords. But... at the moment, the two-handed... remember, the Lightis ignores all melee armor. So the Lightis is 21 attack, is doing that full attack every time it hits. So a two-handed sword with 60, it's going to take 3 Lightis hits to bring it down. The armor is not doing anything. But of course, the camels are there, and the camels, again, laugh off Lightis. They aren't worried. They've got low enough melee armor that it doesn't really make a difference. And they get attack bonuses back against the Lightis. So they're happy with it. Chris hits the Imperial Age, and it now leaves me as the only non-Imperial Civ. The Bulgarian two-handed swords flood in. The Hindustanis building castles in their defense. There's a lot of barracks in that back line. And Matt's unable to push back against Wilson in such a degree that Wilson is now pushing back against him. So Matt's is... it's one-on-one in the north, and it's not looking good. We have a player advantage, and we are still being hounded. Chris's camels having died, his base extending far and wide. But they are fighting on this castle now. They're pushing in, dropping an archery range, trying to help, trying to get back into the game. We have a player advantage, yes, but at the moment I'm not doing anything. So it is a little unfair of me to suggest that the others are dropping the ball. It's 2v2 in the south and 1v1 in the north. So we just have to see how we get on. Wilson's still going with the monk push. Mats manages to deny that castle. British archers still formidable at attacking things. If you haven't got the right counters, they are a horrible unit to fight against. Rule Britannia, if I don't say so myself. And he is able to push back all those villagers. The more gold wasted from Wilson, more monks die. Remember, at this point, they're not trading, so gold is not yet infinite. It's still limited, so that many monks dying has got to hurt. Wilson pushes Mats's forces back that much with a single mangonel. That's crazy. As he continues to treb down Mats's base. Peace in the south for a time. Eärendil drops another castle. My archery range is going up, sorry, and we're just getting as much gold as we can possibly get. Just get me that gold. Oh, sorry, I didn't realise Kitty was in the castle age. Sorry, Kitty. I don't even know who he is. I told you all I was the only castle age one, but no, he was there as well. So he'd gone so heavily into his camels that it had delayed his age up. That's something that you very, very commonly see in these kind of... like, no one here's a professional player, are they? So he's like upper to lower, firmly in the middle tier, denying yourselves. Chris has come over to assist. Hussars have arrived. And the two together now should be able to counter, provided they line up against each other's counters well. They should be all right. The arbalesters will take care of any pikemen or halberdiers. And the hussars will deal with the skirmishers very, very, very gleefully. Matt's pushing back. Two castles spreading out from that left-hand side. But the Bulgarians come again, and now Eärendil is on his own. So it's 2v1 in the south. Chris and Matt's, they're taking the view that 2v1 in the north is going to give us the chance, but it allows then a 2v1 in the south. But Chris... Oh no, just killing a villager. Ignore that. The light is holding back fairly well. The two-handed swordsmen still don't have Bagains yet. I've got a few crossbows and they move into assist. Waste themselves on the siege ram. Crossbows, my crossbows are not very upgraded at this stage. But we get in the castle and at least in there they can fortify it and bolster it. We start getting some farming up. We're rebuilding. Oh, I also on mangonelled down his tree line here, and he built a crepos to deny it. I was disappointed that I didn't see. I wasn't there when that happened. The fact that he just wasted stone on a crepos there for one single mangonel just made my day. Anyway, Mats continues his push, and now he's got some initiative. He's got some siege rams, not siege rams, cap rams, and there's the hussar and light cavalry push. The greens and blues, Kitty and Sherpa, do manage to take down one of Eärendil's castles, but together we force them back. Now, I have still got much of my production is up. I've got a blacksmith and a university. I've got plenty of farms and wood cutters over in the back there. So this is just my outward expedition. We're just going to protect these farmers. Get some defenses up there, and we move off to build another town centre to claim this stone. We need stone because the one thing that I have that will make short work of everything currently on the screen here is the Genovese crossbowmen. And Genovese are an anti-cavalry archer, and they're damned good at it. And then thereafter, they are just archers. So if you have them in critical mass, they're good against infantry as well. They're not as good as arbalesters against infantry because they fire much, much slower. But against that camel horde, if they were Genovese, that camel horde is quivering in its boots. You'd only need about that many to really make them second guess what they're going to do. But they are up to imperial camels now, the Hindustanis, so there's concerns. But Eärendil's got his halberdiers out, and the lightest they know that they can't really deal with the two-handed swordman. That's not ideal for them. Excuse me, sorry. They're there to deal with the camels, but the halberdiers move through, and that's where the camels will falter. But the two-handed swordsman carving them down in the back before they can really do anything. I hit the Imperial Age a few moments ago, you may have seen. So we can start upgrading our crossbows. But we can deal with those pikes, that's not a problem. We laugh in the face of pikes. Ha 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 ha! But there's a trebuchet in the back that we've not dealt with. Chris has sent in some cavalry archers. That front castle looks like it's going to go. I've got up to Arbalester finally, which is very nice to see. But something needs to be done. Another castle falls. Peace falls to the north as well as Mats just starts trebbing down the line. Mats still hasn't even made it past the wall that Wilson built at the start of the game. So all of our holding in the south is to no avail. We need Mats to do something with Wilson. Or, again, just hold long enough for me to actually impact this game if I'm able to. If they sniff me out in the south here, I am scuppered. But my own base, they still don't really do out. I send in some trebs to deal with the Crepos, but unfortunately it raises their ire and is what we call a mistake. But then they move to the next castle and they completely ignore my little southern base, but they have got some forces moving in to prepare for it. We send some Arbalesters back. We're furiously mining the stone. Chris has got some hussars in waiting behind. And the trade for the market starts to go down. Saracen and myself... Chris and myself... Chris, I'm going to call you Saracen from now on. Saracen and myself building markets ready for that long-distance trade. Mats has already set up markets in the north to protect. There's a relic there that no one's claimed. As the Saracen... The Hindustanis, again, ignoring me. They're moving their production to the front line, though. We do manage to take down the Krepos. And we then stop them taking my own gold, which is nice. But then that does, unfortunately, draw their attention. But that's perfect. If their attention is in the north, it's not in the south. And that's all we're worrying about. We are dropping 2 castles down here. Let's start getting these Genoese out. Let's start preparing. Earendil is now really up against it. They are in his base. They've moved through the palisade wall. And they are fighting in his base. He's dropping houses to try and protect his farming. And Mats brings his crossbows back at that point. The attack on Wilson stalls. And Mats's crossbow, Arbalesters, sorry, moves south. So it's now 3v2 in the south. With me desperately trying to survive still. Chris leads the Bagains back to my town centre. Very disappointing. But we wall ourselves in. Let's protect this trade. Let's force them to go past the 2 castles. Mats's Arbalesters do manage to clear all of that up. But then the Sherpa's got free reign with his siege rams to just come and start destroying. Just come and start breaking through. Siege rams hit everything around them, which is why all of that palisade's on fire. Chris moves his archers in. Right, we've cleared them out. Mats has cleared them out of Earendil's base. And his Arbalesters go in. But those siege rams are going to take down a few of those houses before they go. But interestingly, Sherpa pulls back because he knows he can't deal with that many Arbalesters. That is too many Arbalesters and heavy cavalry archers. So they take this opportunity to go and finally finish me. So he brings a trebuchet up. And they're going to break through into what was my base. But that doesn't matter anymore. This is of no concern to us. For we have made it to the south. We've got some castles up. We've got some markets. We've got a bit of farming there. Let us pray now, brothers, that we can do what needs to be done. Right, we'll speed it up a bit. But Wilson pushes back at that moment and capitalizes on Mats's push south. So Mats's army is now in the south where it's trapped. It's defending itself as best as possible. And then, look at that. That's some good teamwork there. Kitty destroyed the stables to deny Mats the protection of that building from that side. And there's just so many blue ground forces there. If Kitty had turned his trebs on that, he would have got some wonderful kills. My castle goes down. My base is now undefended. I've got all the villagers there, but they are not long for this world. And Mats's archers are finally... They're just whittled down with halberdiers and 2-handed swordsmen of all things. He's finally got his Bagains tech, so their armor is now up at 9. So now the lightest is really going to shine, because now that 9 armor is outrageous. Matt's going in for longbows. They are able to deal with skirmishers, but they just need so many of them to be effective. But then, as you'll note, skirmishers can't really deal with light cav. It's a shame they're not hussars, but the hussar upgrade's quite gold intensive, and gold is very important at this time. Earendil with his winged hussars come out instead. Not a good matchup in the slightest. He's got anti-cavalry units in there, and now he's got heavily armoured 2-handed swordmen. Hussars are not going to enjoy that. But his backline is being pushed back. But Chris and Earendil together are able to push back those Imperial Camel Riders. I still don't really have the resources. I'm just desperately trying to get resources. My base over here, we accept defeat, although we do get some skirmishers out. But we're just trying to, just keeping it protected as long as possible. Make the best use of those farms that we can. Trade carts starting to flow back and forth between... And we are mining that gold there. The last gold on our side, save for some bits that are a bit too risky. Right, so let's speed her up again. Matt's and Wilson's back and forth continues. Back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Siege rams moving in now. The worst nightmare of a Britain player is a siege ram push. The Bagain, two-handed swordman, and then the Greens finally find me. Obviously, they knew I was down there, but they weren't doing anything about it. But Blue and Kitty and Sherpa push forward again. They start trebbing down Earendil's base. Earendil is really now up against it. He's got hand cannoneers out, and I've got the mod on that makes them look like Age of Empires 3 hand cannoneers, which is very cool. Well, they look like musketeers. I just think that looks awesome. They fit really well, in my opinion. So, Kitty just focusing on Earendil's production in that front line. Earendil and myself have almost met up through the trees. I might be able to get the villagers out that way. But the camels move through. The halberdiers do push in to stop them. Halberdiers are fantastic against camels, but there's a lot of camels. Hand cannoneers moving in to assist. Chris has got some hand cannoneers in the south, but Kitty's got some skirmishers to deal with those. But Chris has got a castle, but he doesn't have murder holes, so he can't shoot the units at the bottom of his castle. But he's making very short work of those two-handed swordmen, and he's dropping down some stables. The Imperial Camel's now hitting Chris's wood line and pushing into Chris's base. Mats has now been well and truly beaten back from that front line as the trash of the Byzantine, supported by a few bombard cannons, is enough to bring them down. I'm building some more farming in the north, realizing that the south might no longer be protected. That farm we abandoned a while ago, that was raided. They don't come too much further into my base. There's a treb on the tree line, and there's a few units that do bring down the villagers that are there. The camels pushing in, but now the hand cannoneers have got them. The hand cannoneers have caught up with them, and they're pushing them back out, but blue and green. But then finally, the Italian Genoese arrive. Now is our time, brothers. Now is our time. Cavalry, you say? Bring your cavalry to mine axe. The Imperial Camels in the back, they do a number, unfortunately, on those hand cannoneers. But Earendil using just retreat and fire tactics. Fire by rank. The front rank will kneel and fire. The second rank will fire on command. Matt's just desperately trying to live. Now the tables turn. Now that I'm sort of coming back to the game, the south becomes a 3v2, and Matt's is now the one who just needs to stay alive. If Mats can stay alive, I might be able to do a thing. I'm still firmly bottom in score. Although, interestingly, I'm only 3,000 behind Kitty. Considering I'm 8,000 behind the highest scored player. Kitty and Earendil scores aren't too far behind. But now with the Genoese, the enemy knows they have made a mistake. They have made a mistake. Oh, I just love the Italians so much. It's just so fun watching hordes of cavalry run to their deaths as your archers take them down. The trade is really starting to kick off now. Interestingly, the enemy is still not trading. They are still just utilizing gold they have around the map. But now we are together, and combined we are unstoppable. Genoese and Saracen hand cannoneers pushing back anything that tries to tackle us here. But they have, of course, still got us pushed to the line. We need to get back. We need to claim more land. Now, that Genoese horde, I should say, used all of the resources I had. So, this is not as this is nowhere near as clear and dry as it looks at the moment. Matt's still fighting this area. Another castle falls, but look at the production. Matt's is king of just constantly building production. He's so annoying to fight against. Because you think you've got him. You think, yeah, I've cleared so much land. And then this is what you're faced with. He just constantly builds production buildings. I hate it. I hate it. But for the first time on my channel, I'm here singing Matt's praises for this annoying behavior. Because he's on my team. We are putting down houses because unfortunately we're housed, and we're trying to utilize them in a line formation to protect both my farming and as much of the trade as we can, because it's looking rather dire in the north. Right, my Genoese, unfortunately Sherpa had a castle up on that edge, and the Genoese are just falling to that, which is poor form. So I've got a couple of trebs out. At this point, Mats is slinging me. Mats and Chris are... So you may not have seen as many of Chris's forces on this front line as you might have thought. But that is because Chris is acting as the bank of the team at the moment. And Chris and Mats together, actually. But I believe that when we check the score at the end, I believe Chris sends more money than anyone else. But that's the role that he's very much fulfilling successfully, very successfully. He's flooding my coffers, and with that I'm able to produce an army that counters what our foes bring. But the Hindustanis charge through. They never did capitalise on killing me off completely. My town centre survived, but the Hussars come, and Earendil's economy is gutted again. Saracen Hussars versus Hindustani Hussars is an ideal match. It's not an ideal match, it's an equal match. Sorry, neither has any advantage over the other. Sheer numbers will win it. Matt's still holding, but he is entirely countered by what stands before him. Skirmishers and rams is just like that. Just has the Britons over a barrel. Oh, and he's been pushed. Wilson has cut through the trees and tried to bombard tower rush Mats. Oh, he's created an opening. That's going to be interesting to see. So whilst he's fighting in the west here, he's cut through the trees and tried to attack back. In the south, my Genoese and skirmishers move forward, and they can clear those troops. We just need to get more of them. We just need to flood it. Sherpa sending his halberdiers to assist. Chris dropping a castle on the front line. A castle will deal with that halberdier and hussars if they can get close to them. My villagers are then finally killed off, alas. So my resources run low. The Hussars move in, but there are a few Genoese in amongst that roster there. But that is a lot of Hussars, and sheer numbers alone are going to take it. 4 stars. We try to get the trebuchets out. Mats moves his forces forward and just pushes back into that line, but Wilson is coming. Wilson is now through the line. But he's got a lot of buildings to soak himself up on before he can actually get to the eco. But the force that was in the base has now been dealt with. It's been pushed out and mostly dealt with. But blue then comes for the line, and we are taking a beating. The Genoese have not done what we might have hoped, and green and blue are able to push back. We did take down their castle, but our own, it's looking rather bleak. We've got bombard cannons in the back line. Remember, green and blue's base is just over the edge there, just over the hill. My skirmishers getting gutted before they can even do anything, before they're even trained. And Wilson now flooding into Mats's northern production. He's there, which risks our trade getting hit. I say our trade. I still have hardly any trade carts in this trade at the moment. 1 or 2. I do get cheaper trade as the Italians with the unique tech, but you have to weigh up whether it's worth it, because it costs 350 gold, I think, and for that you could get 7 trade carts anyway. But after that tech, you would be able to get 14 trade carts with that same amount of gold. So it just depends. I mean, I say that. I did not work out a complicated calculation to get the technology. I just researched it. As soon as I was able, I just researched it. I thought, oh, I should do is I need to get some trade now. So I just researched my trade tech. Right, Wilson is pushing in, but Wilson is then countered quite handily by the game's quite possibly most useful unit. The Mameluke is, en masse, one of the hardest units to counter. It has all the benefits of a ranged cavalry archer, with all the benefits of a melee unit. It's so difficult to counter. And skirmishers, as of an update a little while ago, no longer get any bonus damage against it. So they do, I think, 1 damage per shot. But we're able to get some more Genoese out. And with Earendil covering and Earendil's hand cannoneers, we are able to then gain some ground. But blue is sending his siege rams finally down into my base. Earendil was able to hold. Was able to hold. My tower and town centre keeping me alive. Our front line is falling. Those siege rams took down the town centre. But now they're standing around doing nothing. And the bombard cannon is hitting them back. Right, we've got a good massive Genoese. And Mats is able to push his archers back into Wilson's base. Wilson's cutting through the trees has then cost him his own backline eco. So he's got farms up here, of course, but he's lost the farms around his town centre. And, more importantly, he's lost his town centre. He drops a castle with his villagers and scurries away. They are just now starting to trade, but they're not utilising the full length Only green and blue have built markets on that back line, and they have hardly any trade carts. Compared to the... Look at the trade of our side. Compared to this. 1 or 2 sporadic. But Matt's... So Wilson chews himself silly, eating on the exposed flesh of Mats, but doesn't realise that all the while Mats is punching him in the chest. And Wilson tries to flood that gap, but the troops are already through, and a lot of villagers take a hit there. In the south, the death ball emerges. So if Mats can now deal with Wilson, I am now firmly back, and we can 3v2 in the south and claim our advantage. We now have elite Genovese and hand cannoneers. I should say that I'm just being a language snob. Genoese is how everyone in the Anglosphere would pronounce it. But in Italian, you would call them Genovese. And I just prefer that. But it sounds so silly. From me just speaking totally normally and then slapping in Genovese here and there, it sounds silly. But if, however, it's not pronounced Genovese, please do let me know. But from my research... I believe that's the pronunciation for a thoroughbred Italian person. Anyway, we've got now a nice critical mass of Genovese. And with the hand cannoneers and bombard cannons in behind. I've also now dropped some stables. We just need something to act as a screen so the archers can do their thing. Mats and Wilson's battle now takes place in the centre. There's a couple of cataphracts in there, but cataphracts against Britons aren't really the play because cataphracts' biggest weakness is archers. And the Britons obviously are a fantastic archer civ. So cataphracts aren't really that great against them. But Matt's able to really gut that back economy. And now that counters everything that they have. Bombard cannons coming out from Earendil. I was getting some bombard cannons of my own. Oh, they haven't come out yet, but I... oh, there we go. Yeah. I thought I had some bombard cannons. We have more than enough troops to deal with those siege rams while we're not being attacked, so we'll just quickly take those out. Because otherwise they'll distract us when we need to kill real things. And then our force is ready. The Hindustanis do have an answer to this, and it is the Ghulam. But Kitty only has 1 castle at the front line. And in fact, I think he may only have 1 castle full stop, or period, as the Americans might say. So he just can't mass them. But Ghulams would absolutely laugh off those Genovese. They would enjoy killing them, and they would laugh off those hand cannoneers as well. We would be able to spec into something to deal with them, but at the moment it's not as... People always say, oh yeah, we just train cavalry to deal with them, but it's not as easy as just instantly retooling. This Genovese horde cost me all of my eco, and Earendil, of course, was gutted a while back, and the trade takes a while to get really going. Matt's and Chris's trade has been going for a long time, and they are still slinging us with gold. But now we are able to push back. Mats has also claimed that interior of Wilson. He's been able to push him. Wilson just still trying to kill Mats before Mats can kill him. I don't know. It seems like Wilson.exe has encountered an error and has had to stop. Because these troops are just wasted fighting Mats here. Mats is in your base, Wilson. You, on the other hand, are in Mats's second base. You're not even touching his eco. Whereas he is killing off your lumberjacks. He's killed off your farmers. This is what you need to be worrying about, Wilson. Now, I'm not even that good, and I can see that. I mean, I'm disparaging Wilson, and I apologise. He obviously has held Mats for an incredibly long time, but now I just think his whatever he's doing here is just not the play. This is the threat. Italians coming to prove their use again as the Condottiero push into the enemies. Condottiero are just fast-moving champions. They're worse than champions, don't get me wrong, but they're fast-moving. They don't require any upgrade to get to them, and they do get a bonus against gunpowder. So they're better if you're using them against hand cannoneers or the like. But and now we are able to turn the tide. Bombard cannons in the back, hand cannoneers to deal with any infantry that tries to screen, and the Genovese just having a field day with the number of cavalry that Kitty is trying to use against me. And the moral of this is never give up and never surrender. We will fight them on the beaches. We will fight them in the hills and the hedgerows. The fields and the hedgerows, I think he says. I don't know that speech, I'm sorry. All I know is we'll fight them on the beaches, and he says hedgerows at some point, because I find that funny. Wilson resigns, finally, because Mats is just doing way too much economical damage. And Sherpa hits the GG. And Sherpa resigns. And we take the victory! Huzzah! Yes, the moral of the story really being, do not give up. Always fight on. Now, Mats's push into Wilson is arguably what won us the game. Oh yeah, Kitty does the GG, but then for some reason just decides not to resign. I don't know why. But Mats's push into Wilson's base is what gives us the win. This push here by Wilson cost him the game. Cutting through those trees. That is the deciding factor. So yes, I helped in the south. Obviously, the Genovese were countered Kitty completely, and he didn't have an answer. He didn't know what to do when I was back in the game. But arguably, to my mind, Mats's destruction of Wilson is what won the game. And up until that push, Wilson had Mats over a barrel. So Wilson was the architect of his own destruction. And I do not understand why he didn't pull his forces back when it was apparent that he was just getting gutted. Maybe he thought, this is over, lads, because I don't know obviously we don't know what they were saying to each other, but maybe they'd agreed it was kind of over anyway, and they just fought for longer for the lols. I don't know. But they pushed back in there. Oh, I rebuilt up here because they left my town centre. I started getting the trees back and reusing the farms, and they did come back to try and stop that after a while. And I think Earendel pushed through there. I'm not entirely certain. But it was the Genovese and the hand cannoneer and bombard cannon combo down in the south that won it there. Chris absolutely slinging us all with gold and food throughout the game. If we just go to economy, the tribute sent 11,600 from Chris. So you may not have seen as many of his troops on the field, but that's because he was pumping them in to keep me alive and Earendel alive. So an excellent showcase in how there's more to this game than just build units, rush enemy. There's other things at play, and Chris showing that perfectly there. I really, really enjoyed that game. As you can probably tell, I've been gleeful throughout. I've actually actively looked forward to recording this. I wanted to record it the minute we won the game. So enjoyable. How long has this been? 50 minutes. That's probably going to sped it up a few times. So there's the stats for you. That's obviously the overall score. Military-wise, Matt's killed 1,000. But showing how really do just stay alive. I was able to kill 624. That is as many as Earendel and Kitty and Chris. And I was beaten out of that game. So it's crazy. Obviously, I lost an awful lot. Largest army up to 79 by the end as well. Don't give up. Obviously, Matt's beating Wilson in the north probably would have taken it anyway. But just by being alive, you are still present in the enemy's minds. You might not be attacking them, but you're there. You're a kernel in their mind that they can't get around and get rid of. So staying alive helps your team in a great way, which I'm labouring the point now, but there we are. So those are the military stats. Economy, I always say economy. It's because I'm going to say economically speaking, and then I cut myself off. So economy-wise, most food went to Sherpa, wood went to Mats, gold went to Mats, trade profit went to Mats, but tribute sent 11,000. Mats did also send 6,000. Obviously, you can't deny that. Half of Chris's amount, but that just shows you how much Chris sent. That's outrageous. But Mats did send. At one point, they propped me up entirely. That Genovese horde at the end was only possible by the goodwill of donations from our neighbours. Mats and Wilson were the most valuable players on each team, as the game has decided, and I would agree with that. Wilson held Mats for so long, and then he just made a terrible mistake. Cutting through the trees cost him big time. There's the technology scores. They don't really make too much odds, to be honest. They're showing how I over-researched just way too much. 45 research when I was basically dead. And then societal. Chris having the most villagers. That's how he was able to pump out all that tribute. And Mats and Earendel high on villagers as well. 120 for Sherpa, 131 for Wilson. Planet Golf obviously getting defeated immediately. And then the timeline. That game was good because Planet Golf died really early and we thought, oh, this is going to be over then. He's resigned, this is done. And that's why it works so wonderfully, because it's a perfect example of how don't give up. Planet Golf and I met the same fate. I was pushed right back. And look at my wall. I had to wall myself in completely twice. Just constantly retreating, and then I was able to sneak to the corner. Planet Golf decided, nah, I'm done. This is over, guys. He didn't delete his wall and run his villagers away. He didn't do anything. He just decided, nope, this is over. I'm out. And he buggered off. And then Wilson was able to push Mats back. Wilson had Mats over a barrel. but then he completely threw the game with a push into his own economy. That just cost him massive. Cost him big time. And unfortunately, Sherpa and Kitty made a fatal mistake of not finishing off a player who seems to be dead. When I was trapped in that corner, they should have just killed me, but they didn't, and it's cost them big because I counter their armies quite nicely. And allowing me back in the game allowed them their own defeat because they just didn't have anything. And also, they just didn't trade. The lack of trade is outrageous. I mean, trade is pivotal. So there we are. That was a ranked game. I hope you have enjoyed that. Please do let me know. Again, let's do an actual definitive answer. Would you rather Capture Age or not? Capture Age would have showed you tributes. It would have shown you the messages between them. It shows you where town centers are. But other than that, it also has no music, worse graphics, and the screen is a lot more cluttered. So it's a hit and miss. Is more information but a worse visual better, or is better visuals and a worse? It's kind of like, is it better presentation or better information? That's the answer you're after. That's the question you're asking yourself. Before now, that's your lot. Thank you very much for watching, and there will be 2 more DAC videos coming over the next couple of days, and because of the odd break. But anyway, stay tuned. And until next time, Navair den Perimadmelonin, and farewell.